All right, welcome everyone to the May 19th, 2025 Board of Selectmen meeting. Call the meeting to order. Welcome everyone. Just a reminder, this meeting is being recorded and the recording is not an official public document. So the first order of business is reorganization. So as the chair, I'm going to call for nominations for the chair post-election. I was told once, like when you're doing fundraising, you make your pitch and you get to the point and you say, we'd like you to donate X number of dollars, and then the thing to do is not say a word, just wait. It's no longer your problem. So, no longer my problem.
I will nominate Dana Smith for chair.
I second it.
Okay, it's been made and seconded. Any discussion? You ready for this?
Well, it's a year in, so.
Bring it on. Okay, so make a vote. All those in favor of Dana being chair?
Aye.
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 All right.
That went quick.
Somewhat seriously, you want to trade chairs?
Nope, well, why don't you finish it out?
Okay.
Finish what you
So,
started.
next, we need nominations for vice chair.
Well, I nominate Nate Sides as vice chair.
Second, all those in favor?
What happened to discussion?
Discussion? There you go. Not for it?
That's fine. I'm good with that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And now, actually, you can take over from here. I think we're coming up to nomination for clerk.
For clerk.
Yeah.
All right, so, looking for a nomination for clerk on the Board of Selectmen. And I nominate Mark Russo.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
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 So,
Carries.
Mr. Chair, is sort of an outgoing thing. I have a couple comments along the way. Is that all right with
Absolutely,
you?
that, 100%.
So, glad you guys are taking a leadership role. I will mention something that is fairly well known, but that my house is on the market and it might sell quickly, it might sell long ways down the road. I am glad to continue to serve sort of in a transitional role, particularly because a couple of the selectmen that had long-term experience are no longer with us, but at some point when we get to closing, town council has advised me I'll have to resign. I am glad through the rest of this election year to come to meetings whenever possible, to sit in the audience, obviously not to vote, but to lend what I know about some issues. I want to make the transition as easy as possible. Were at the decision of this board at some point, I think the board would have the choice after I resign, as I understand it, of either just continuing as a two-person board or holding a special election. If there were a special election, I would not want the town to bear financial burdens, so I have offered and will offer to take care of any expenses involved in that along the way. So my goal really is to be to make any transition as comfortable as possible. I do want to fully and completely appreciate John Traynor and all the work he's done and the great dedication he put into the town over many, many, many years. We didn't agree about everything. We did agree about a fair amount of things. What I particularly appreciated is what a worker he was along the way. And for that matter, Christine Joy, before a decade of hard, wonderful service along the way, and great appreciation for the two of them. It's always time to move on and fresh ideas and fresh energy. I think there are a bunch of things that hopefully we've all kind of learned from them and can bring forward along the way. I was prepared to offer some ground rules for the meeting, but I guess I don't have to. I will just mention, I think, one more thing, if I might, and then I promise to shut up. Camp Daniel Webster was a camp in Marshfield. I'm looking around to see if there's anyone old enough to remember camp. No, there it is. All right. The day we
I lived on that street
really
for a while, yeah.
God, a beautiful old building. It was Daniel Webster's house in the 1800s, a famous legislator, mainly about swimming. But the guy that ran the place was a guy named Cody. And every morning it would start with an assembly, all the campers, all the counselors, and Mr. Cody would give speeches on certain values, community and honesty and trust and things like that. But each day, whatever that subject was, would then be the password to get your lunch. They wouldn't let you downstairs to get the lunch until you remembered, whatever the password for the day is. So for me, kind of the password of the day is comity, not comedy, but comity, which means something like courtesy, considerate behavior. When I started out as a selectman 12 years ago, we were the antithesis of that. And one of the main reasons I initially ran for selectman was to promote some courtesy and transparency, and I think over the last decade we've done a great job on that, so I really, really hope that can continue along the way. So password of the day, comity. It probably won't buy you lunch and certainly won't buy you dinner, and I appreciate the chance to babble for a couple minutes, Mr. Chair, and I'm glad to switch seats if you'd like.
It's okay. I don't think we need to necessarily do that.
Okay.
We can be more formal next time. Well, thank you, Mark, for all your comments, and thank you, John, for your service, to John Trainer for all your years of having been here. I will parrot on what Mr. Russo just said as far as how things should continue, and on my time of the board as being a year now as of yesterday. I have seen that as far as the decorum that's been held and the respect from the townspeople and how they've handled things in the meetings, and that we've actually seen more interaction at these town meetings, or the selectmen's meetings, I should say. So, I honorably take this position. I appreciate the faith of the board to put me in this position. And for today, we're trying to move on and get on to other objects of interest as far as what goes on, but we did have a very good turnout as far as the town election on Saturday. It was good to see people being interactive as far as our town government, and I always encourage that, or otherwise I wouldn't be up here myself. So moving on, our next point is on the ARPA funding status update, and I will turn that to Ms. Dennehy.
So as far as ARPA is concerned, all of our county funds have been turned over to us. And right now, we're waiting on a couple outstanding invoices for that. So we have a few projects for Silver Lake, specifically for the HVAC work at the high school and some HVAC work at the middle school. We asked Silver Lake if they could bill us out for the whole thing, just to have that money transitioned over to them. They've only invoiced us for a small portion, so we're still sitting on those funds, basically. And then separate from that, we also have the public water supply project, which involves the drilling of the wells here for the town complex. That project is currently under the care, custody, and control of the Town Properties Committee. And we have some funds in place for the completion of that work, but again, haven't really been receiving invoices or anything like that. So I think it would probably be wise for this board to get an update from Town Properties, maybe for the June 9th meeting. I think that would give them enough time to work with their project manager and let us know where everything stands. Because at last check, they were thinking of having the work done probably by September 30th. So I think we definitely need to check in. I personally would feel better once those funds are completely expended in the manner that they were authorized by the county. And then as far as local ARPA, we've been funding some various projects and items out of that. Also, too, for the next fiscal year, we're funding year 2 of the assessor's property valuation project. That's a 3-year program, $22,400 per year. So we're funding another year of that, and that was, again, in an effort to remove some articles from the town meeting warrant so that it wouldn't be coming from raise and appropriate or utilizing free cash. The town accountant and I will be reconciling the local ARPA account again, like probably later this week, and I can send out a more detailed update of exactly what we have left. We also just processed invoices recently for a security project at Dennett that was completed some time ago. There was a delay in them getting us the invoice, and a few things like that. So money is definitely leaving that account. But we fulfilled our obligation as far as the U.S. Treasury. We expended all of the funds, or committed them, I believe is the word that they use. Everything was properly done in advance of their December 2024 deadline. So that's all accounted for.
All right. Excellent, Liz, thank you. Any comments, Mr. Russo or
No.
Mr. Sides? All right, we are on to warrants paid. Brigitte?
$3,543.77.
Excellent. And town administrator updates.
So we have a few items here. Let's see. The Plymouth County Advisory Board is looking for a member, and this would be for next fiscal year. So to begin July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026. We have a little bit of time to respond to them. So I think right now Dana is the representative to that. I
Yes.
don't know if you'll be looking to make a change. Their next meeting is June 5th, but we could notify them if we plan to take it up on June 9th and discuss it.
Okay.
We have a letter here from Nathaniel Sides resigning from the Plympton Finance Committee. And to that effect, I think that maybe we should put something on social media, just asking people if they're interested in serving, to email us a little about themselves and maybe set like a time certain. If we could get it back in advance of the June 9th meeting, that might be good.
And I would say also a motion or otherwise for making that a little bit more broad too, because we had quite a few of the folks that were kind of blank
Yep.
on our ballot. So I think if we put it out there that people being interested and so forth on those boards, if we made it not just that, that any of them that are interested, and even giving some information on what those boards specifically do and what it entails and so forth, I think would be very helpful on social media. As you know, I'm a big advocate for that. It gets out to people very instantaneously, so.
I'll work on something like a big post
Yeah.
with all the vacancies.
I think that'd be fantastic.
Okay.
So finance is going to be appointed by selectmen, the open position.
Yes, but typically it's with a recommendation as well from the finance committee. So I'll communicate with Marilyn and,
That was gonna be my question. I didn't know if we showed them the resume, any resumes
I
that come
think
in.
we
Yeah.
should, and it can be a
I was
collaborative.
trying to remember how I got appointed, and I think,
Yeah. And how many years do you have left? Did you have left?
2.
So it would be a 2-year appointment. So that's a great way for, it's a
Yes.
5-year thing, right, generally? Or is it
It's
four?
it's 3, it's 3.
But
Is it that, or is it 1 year and then because I think,
Did you
I think
get to
I,
finish your old seat?
when I first started, I believe I was appointed for 1 year, and then I had to
Finish,
run.
and then you ran again.
the
So I
other
think you
year.
have 2 years.
Yeah, your term ends 5/15/27.
Yeah, but I'm thinking back to when I first joined in 10 years ago, before you and I knew each other. Yeah, I mean, whatever, however it's supposed to be done.
So at the very end, you're going to owe us a year.
I'm not sure that I signed up for that.
I second that.
It was in the fine print. I was gonna check the fine print. So I'll put out something then with all the vacancies and a little about them and.
I think especially where it's so fresh with the, you know, the ballot in people's
Absolutely.
hands and so forth, I think this is the right time to, for lack of a better term, strike on this to get it out to people, so.
Absolutely.
Okay, we have, so this is kind of customary. The surrounding towns, they typically send something out when their Board of Selectmen reorganizes. So we received the notice of the Carver Select Board. They reorganized back on May 6th. We have a resignation letter here from John Trainer. His resignation from the Town Properties Committee is effective today's date. And he expresses his gratitude for the experience that he's had on that committee.
I understand that he's resigned. It sounded to me in his letter like he was feeling that there was required to be a selectman on the Town Properties Committee, which I don't think is the case.
There's not.
We chose to have him on the committee so that there'd be easy communication back and forth. But if he wanted to continue, and if this board wanted to appoint him, he still could be. I'm just making that point, that if there were any confusion that it was that he had to resign because he wasn't a selectman, is not the case.
Correct. We can put something out there too. There was one vacancy before, but now that he's resigned, there are 2. And you're correct, they don't have any special requirements as to the person needing to be a member of another board or committee, so we could put that out, and if he was interested.
Well, I think that's a great addition to
To
the
the
list that
list.
Mr. Smith mentioned earlier, you know.
Do you want
There's
to?
certainly a lot of interest in that particular committee at the moment, so.
Correct.
I think that would be good. Does that make sense, or do you want to wait and do town properties separate and not part of that? Like, I didn't know if you wanted to bring them in to talk about the water project and to kind of reestablish roles and responsibilities.
As I've always said, I mean, it is the people's decision, as far as, you know, how these committees are made up and who actually serves on them. So I think that it also should be seen as to what the Town Properties Committee offers right now, especially in the reverse of what has just happened in the town and one of the major projects that they've been involved in. I think if we let it to be that they're gonna have this meeting with us on the 9th and then decide afterwards, I don't think that's a bad thing.
Okay.
I think it'll give them a chance to talk about what has recently transpired as far as what's gone on with what they've been working on this project for over a decade, and see where that is up, and see what their needs are. I don't know if anyone else has any comments on it? Mr. Russo?
No, I think there's a lot of work to do in thinking it through, and I think we're probably going to be at a place that we have to kind of restructure what the mission of that organization is and what the communication is and actually authority is. So I think we got work to do, and I think we have a couple of openings, and that committee, more than any, needs some really talented and savvy people. So
Agreed.
we can start the process.
Okay. And then otherwise, regarding updates, we're going to begin work on year-end closeout pretty soon. Getting what was voted at town meeting up and running as far as entering everything in to our budget format. Working with the different department heads to make sure that they clearly understand what they were budgeted for the following year. We're also working on the employee status form changes for the new hourly rates and everything that'll take effect July 1st. The treasurer sent the form out. Typically, the form comes back to me to review it, check it, and then I sign off, and then it goes back to the treasurer so that she can input those pay rates for the following fiscal year. And I have a meeting tomorrow at the Rock at Regional Old Colony Communications to talk about future funding and where they envision the assessments going and everything. So more to come on that.
Okay. All right, so moving on to the minutes,
Can we pass over those?
and we're going to pass over those minutes.
Thank you.
Which ones were those that
That
were
would have been
missing?
for the first.
And then we will have the
And then the 14th.
short one for the 14th.
So 5/1,
5/1 and
5/14.
5/14. All right, on to Board of Selectmen raves. Mr. Russo?
Oh, darn. So my rave is for town meeting. John Eichman was our replacement town council for the evening. I've worked with John a lot on land projects. He's a really smart, sharp, savvy lawyer, but he's a pretty buttoned-down guy and keeps his cards pretty close to the vest, and you never see him get excited. As soon as that meeting was over, he came up to me and said, "I've been to a lot of town meetings, and I've never seen anything this calm and quiet and actually productive along the way." And as is frequently the case, there were some weighty things on there, and we got through it quickly and properly, and everybody had a chance to have their say. And I think particularly with town meetings having the reputation that they do in many towns, the way we do it is pretty much a real tribute and a real rave for the town of Plympton.
All right, thank you, Mr. Russo. Mr. Sides?
Well, in my long and distinguished selectman career of 12 minutes, my rave is for just the opportunity. I do appreciate the trust that the citizenry has placed in me, and I appreciate their support, and I look forward to serving the town to the best of my ability. And as has been previously mentioned by both of my colleagues here, I do want to recognize John Trainer for his long years of dedicated service to the town. He and I did not always see eye to eye on things, but we did agree on many things. And I think what we all agree on is that we want to do what's best for the town, because we love the town, and we want to make it the best place possible that we can. And John and his family were nothing but gracious to me. On Saturday, we spent a lot of time together, standing out there waving to people, and I do appreciate his graciousness and his class, and I want to say thank you for that. And I also want to end on a hopeful note. I think we do see some folks in town that have expressed some interest in getting involved. I think there are some hot button issues that we all need to work on, but I'm encouraged by the fact that there's some productive dialogue going on, and I hope we can all work together to bring everything to reality and a good conclusion for all of us.
Thank you, Mr. Sides. My rave for today will be actually a congratulations for Mr. Sides, and my thanks to him and others who have stepped up into this role, having been here for a year now. It is something that does encompass a lot of your time, and it is a commitment. And for Mr. Sides to step up to that, I admire him, and I congratulate him on this step in joining us up here on the board. Also recognizing Mr. Russo's long service, and abdicating quickly to chair to me. But I do go back to what we said earlier about getting people involved. When you see a ballot where there's a lot of open spaces on there, there's a lot of people who dedicate a lot of their free time, and I emphasize free, to this town to make it work. And I would like to see more of that, and I would like to encourage people to do it. We've seen more people showing up for meetings, which is definitely a good step in the right direction. And a lot of stuff is accomplished by a lot of dedicated people. And I laud them for their efforts, and I know it's not easy, and I know it's not easy for many people to dedicate that time. So it is important to remember this is how our government operates, and this is why I say also, again, to congratulate Mr. Sides for stepping up to this. It's not the easiest choice to make on the basis of your family time as well as professional time or otherwise. And that's my big rave. The smaller rave is I would like to see a good turnout for our Memorial Day Parade. It is one of the biggest events in the entire town, and it takes a lot of work and a lot of effort from people who also volunteer their time. So it'll be great to see everybody's faces out there and be able to see that involvement as well. As you know, our Selectmen's assistant does a lot of work for that, and I appreciate her for doing that. And that people can reach out to her with questions on whether they have their veteran's name read or various different things. I acquiesce to her and her expertise on that, but I would like people to start, being a little more involved with things in town. So, and thank you for those who are volunteering. And if there's nothing else, I'm making a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
And all in
Yes,
favor?
aye.
Aye.
All right.
Right. Let's see, 27 minutes is almost the record.